What's up, and welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, your weekly look at what's going on in pop culture. I am Pat Sheehan here with my co-host Dave Morrison. Dave, welcome back, man.
Yo, what's good?
Back from the east side of London, the dungeon.
London town, mate.
What was your favorite part of the trip?
Saw lots of cool castles. Saw lots of big churches that are really excessive and kind of uncomfortable to be in at times because it's like very expensive. But
because the church.
Yeah, it's a church, whatever. No, it's just there's a lot of cool stuff there, a lot of history, and it was fun. Yeah, good time.
I heard you got to chill with Mark Hamill.
Yeah, that's the fucking weirdest story, man. I was going to the Tate Modern Art Museum, really, well-known art museum there in London, around the river. And as I'm walking in, I see a red carpet. Yeah, there's no signs. You don't know what it is. It's a red carpet. They got barriers. It looks legit. And hanging around for a little bit, and I watch Mark Strong walk right on in a nice suit.
Kingsman fame.
Yeah, soon to be in Kingsman's and everything. He's awesome, great voice, so good host, right? So I'm like, all right, something's happened. Red carpet. And I go inside, and as I'm going through the art, before they close the joint down, I see the tables, like an award show shot you see on TV. I see a GQ Man of the Year award, something I was not familiar with. It was on Facebook Live, so it wasn't like a huge thing, but they still had a lot of stars there. So once the museum closed, I hung around for like an hour or so on the carpet till it started, and I saw a bunch of people. I saw some people we like too. I saw the Stranger Things kids. I saw Jared Leto.
Oh, are you talking about Finn Wolfhand?
Exactly.
The kid who's in It, killing the box office right now.
Which one is he? I saw
it was Will.
No, Will was not there. It was Caleb McLaughlin, Gatton, and then one of the other kids. But Jared Leto was there. Liam Gallagher was there, who I obviously did not notice until these girls pointed him out for me.
Yeah, of course, British girls love Liam Gallagher.
Yeah, that's Liam Gallagher.
Oh my God.
Gordon Ramsay. Jaden Smith gave us the wave. Awesome. Stormzy was there. Obviously, he's British. Makes sense. So yeah, pretty cool. I was disappointed. Tom Hiddleston apparently is doing a 3-week run of Hamlet right now in London, and that's getting like rave reviews, but it's already like completely sold out, and they're not doing that many shows, and people are kind of disappointed that it's not being filmed for like TV on BBC down the line, because everyone loves it, but no one's gonna get a chance to see it really. So that's kind of disappointing. But
I mean, it's Hamlet. How much better could it be than any other performance of Hamlet?
I don't know.
Done thousands of times, millions of times. Maybe.
That's true, but they always have a review on it. Like when Oscar Isaac was doing in New York City earlier this year, people, all like the theater critics, they have a take. It's like I think it's more than just Shakespeare. I guess it's how they present it with the stage and stuff. It's not just reading lines. So
right.
But either way, it's interesting.
Well, we got a packed show. Before we jump in, please subscribe to us on YouTube. SoundCloud.com/NowstalgiaPod has all the links to follow anywhere you would want to. Leave us a rating and review on iTunes. It all helps out. Share with a friend, please. Dave, Let's jump right into it, though. There's a lot of music that's come out in the last 2 weeks. And let's just go over the major ones. So Taylor Swift, we talked about her on our second to last pod.
Boo.
What'd you think of
trash?
You don't like Ready for It?
Ready for It is better than the trash. Look what we made
Definitely
me do. But I don't think it's that great. For her first 2 singles for an album, this is by far her weakest output by a mile.
I agree, but man, that hook at the chorus, it's pretty. I don't know what that was.
It's Max Martin. Max Martin was on this one. And you know how he is. He has his textbook for pop hits, and he's like, okay, this is what we do, and this is what people like. And at the same time, that's why I don't like it, because this feels so run in the mill for like hook making and verses and Taylor Swift song and hit. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't. Again, her artistry is totally lacking through 2 songs.
I would agree, but that chorus, man, I listened to it right before we started recording, and it's still like playing in my head. It gets you. But I agree, this is definitely her weakest first 2 singles off any album.
Also annoying is everyone when the song drops and all the fans go off, everyone listens to it, and I actually couldn't listen to it at first because the YouTube version was not available to play in England.
Okay.
So it took me, I didn't hear it right away. And everyone was like, Taylor Swift's rapping. She's better at singing than everyone, and she's better at rapping too. And I'm like, that's not even rapping. Come on. It's like fast spoken word. Get the fuck out of here.
I don't even know what that was. That was a little cringeworthy.
I don't want to hear it again. Let's put it that way.
Well, what did you think of Sam Smith just dropping the single out of nowhere? Too good at goodbyes.
Yeah, you know, he's a dramatic fella in terms of his subject matter, and I guess in terms of his song dropping. It makes sense for him to drop his, second album. It's been quite some time since he burst on the scene with
2014.
Latch with Disclosure, and then his own record as well.
In the Lonely Hour.
Yeah, Grammys, cleaning
Darling.
up, whatnot. Very, very well liked fella. He's only 25. It's time for Sam Smith to be back. So, I mean, I'm happy for him, and I think it's a good song. I like the chorus when the background choir comes in. I like, it feels really Sam Smithy to me.
Mm-hmm. Fun. Yeah, definitely. It's like very mellow, and then all of a sudden everything just kind of comes in, and yeah, very Sam Smithy. Good way to put it. It's interesting. When do you think he'll drop his album? Right around Taylor Swift?
Yeah, see,
as well.
It's funny because we always look at the calendar all the time, always thinking about windows and stuff, and we kind of picked Lord out months in advance, and we called this Taylor Swift window as well, and it's not like it's that hard to do this, but it's what we've been doing. So, subscribe because, thanks. But there's actually like this fall's actually kind of getting like tight. Like Zayn dropped a song with Sia. He's apparently dropping an album soon. Taylor Swift, St. Vincent, G-Eazy, A$AP Rocky, probably Beth. Like we're getting a lot of people all of a sudden for the fall, despite a really, stacked early year. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sam Smith waits, but at the same time, you want to get on the next Grammy cycle, so he'll probably go for it. I think November around Taylor Swift's a good bet.
Yeah, it's interesting. We were saying, Taylor Swift was going to have this window all to herself just to dominate, and it's looking like, especially with these 2-week singles, she might not even be the best album that comes out in that window, let alone dominate the end of the year. I think Sam Smith, if he drops another album as good as his freshman one, he could really take it. And Zayn too. I mean, granted, my favorite Zayn song is also a Taylor Swift song, so take that for what it's worth. But
it's a soundtrack song at that.
Yeah, but it's a good soundtrack song.
It is.
I don't want to live.
Yeah.
Forever. Yeah, great song. Someone else that's dropping an album in the upcoming month, St. Vincent. Mass Education, slated to drop on the 13th of October. She dropped 2 singles, New York and Los Angeles.
Hey.
I mean, are you a St. Vincent fan, Dave?
Oh, yeah, huge St. Vincent head. No, I'm not. I did not know this was her 5th album, this upcoming one. I only was really aware of her after her 4th album, which got a lot of love and mainstream attention. But 2 singles, 2 Jack Antonoff collaborations. Jack is fucking everywhere, for better and for worse.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny. I was explaining who Jack Antonoff was to my mom because I was driving the car with them on Labor Day, and a song by Fun came on the radio, and she was like, "Oh, whatever happened to this band?" And I was like, "Well, the lead singer is not even the most famous one. Yeah, right. The guitarist is everywhere, and he's married and not married, dating this really, I don't know. I don't even know what the word is to describe Lena Dunham at this point.
Well respected in TV circles.
Yeah, sure. But he really is just blowing up. St. Vincent is an interesting person because when I think about who's a comparable artist to her, I go right to Beck because like they're artists who are like a lot of albums, but they also make really quality albums, but albums that always fly under the radar and don't get the mass appeal that they probably deserve.
Multi-instrumentalists, cross genre.
Yes, exactly.
Output, yeah.
And I think they're actually going to be releasing. Yeah, they're going to be releasing these albums within a couple weeks of each other because Beck is releasing his album Colors this October as well.
Right.
So it's going to be an interesting time, and they're definitely, I think, probably going for the Grammy nod by when they're dropping it, just because they are Grammy darlings. They're going to win awards for sure.
Yeah. Beck's last album won Album of the Year. Let's not forget.
Yep. I think St. Vincent's won the year before too.
I don't think it won, but it got a lot of love. It was on a lot of year-end lists. But
I don't know. Yeah, it was like a lot of like you said, a lot of year-end lists like at the top. It was a really good album.
right.
You know what? Let's jump to LCD Sound System. So I think if anyone listens to the pod knows I'm a huge LCD Sound System fan. They dropped their fourth album, proper album, American Dream.
First in 7 years.
Well, 2011, this is happening.
That was 20,
so 6
that was
years.
2010.
I guess I wrote that down wrong in my paper here, but yeah. So they broke up in 2011 with a farewell show at Madison Square Garden. Then they came back and they're like, just kidding, we're not done yet. Dropped a single for Christmas, yeah, in 2015, toured through 2016, and now here they are dropping an album. I mean, this is it's an interesting album. I know that you didn't get a chance to listen yet, but I really wanted to talk about it because, I mean, being a big LCD Sound System fan, some people might even call me a stan. I was going to this album, especially after hearing the singles, somewhat with tempered expectations, but still really enjoying Call the Police and American Dream. Tonight didn't grab me so much. I guess my take on the album, it's hard to compare LCD Sound System this album after they dropped This Is Happening, which is a pretty perfect dance rock album. So as a follow-up, it was never going to compare. But I think it's comparable almost to their first album, which was self-titled. And the thing that I think it makes it comparable is not only the way that they songs and they let them build out, but the way that it almost is like they were trying to make songs that could come off of any of their albums. Like Emotional Haircut and Tonight sound like songs that they would have made at the beginning of LCD Sound System. But then a song like How Do You Sleep, which is this like 11-minute epic, was something that would come on like This Is Happening. You know, it could have been like a B cut from it. So overall, I mean, LCD Sound System at this point, from just their track record, anything that they drop is gonna be good. Like that's like the baseline for them. It could be great to legendary, like This Is Happening, or it could be just a very good album, like their self-titled album. And I think this one falls more towards being a very good album than a legendary album.
I see. So where does James Murphy stack in terms of like creators in the music world? Like you just said, he doesn't release anything bad. Like, is he really high up there for you?
You know, it's really interesting. So the two albums I know that he was working as a producer on in the last, like, since LCD Sound System broke up, was Black Star by David Bowie, which he actually, his last song on this Black Screen was kind of an ode to David Bowie in a sense. And he worked on Reflector with Arcade Fire, which is another amazing album, one album of the year.
Yeah, the best album.
I think James Murphy is an incredible producer. I think the way that he thinks about and works on songs is just phenomenal. But I also think he's very unique and strange. So I don't know if he would be up there in terms of like popular artist, but I think in terms of someone that can make a sound that not a lot of people can deny. I mean, he makes dance songs that are also like breakup songs. Like how do you sleep is basically like this. Like he's talking about Tim Goldberg, the guy he started DFA Records with, and it's basically like, you know, just like Lennon writing about McCartney, basically just like, fuck you, dude, like you ruined this. But the way that he writes about it and the way that he builds the song up, it's so layered and it's almost like perfect in a way. My favorite song off the record, I would say he's high up there for me, but he's never going to reach popular acclaim.
I see.
Just to, before we wrap up on this, I know I'm getting a little long-winded. Oh Baby and How I Used To are probably the two songs, along with How Do You Sleep, that I would say definitely check out if you want to kind of get the experience of this record. I'm just gonna pause real quick because I need to go turn my light switch on. I didn't realize that it controls the power to this outlet real quick.
Oh, hello.
Yep.
Well, while Pat is away, I will say that LCD Sound System debuted #1 with their album, 85,000 sales for American Dream, but continuing the rock trend, only 6.3 million streams for American Dream, despite being a #1 album, which is really impressive. And for context, Little Uzi Vert was #2 last week behind LCD, and he had 122 million streams. It's only 4 million traditional sales. And this continues the trend of big rock albums, brand new, 95% traditional album sales. Arcade Fire 94, Linkin Park, not really rock anymore, but 90. So
Right.
whereas hip hop and electronic music, the majority of their revenue is generated from incredible numbers, millions of streams. Rock music is still really, the OG way, just buying the album. So really interesting, and that trend continues.
Yeah, and if you had pre-ordered the album, or if you had bought a ticket to one of their shows, they either sent you a disc for free or you could buy the vinyl. So I think that LCD kind of realizes like it's not really probably going to gain a lot of fans from the streaming services, but the way it's going to service them is by doing things like giving them a free CD or a vinyl for going to their show.
Right. Yeah.
LCD is a band that I think you need to experience live to really understand them. But that's just my own personal bias. Really enjoying LCD shows. You should go to one of them, Dave.
Yeah, one day we'll see.
Why don't we jump into some movie stuff here? So it's been a pretty horrible year for movies over the summer. Yeah, in the summer, at least at the box office. However, it's now technically the fall season, I guess.
Right.
Summer is not over till what, the 23rd or something like that. But
yeah, movie season, we're in the fall.
Yeah,
calendar wise, we're still at the end of summer, right?
Right. And it came out this past Friday.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
Well, I was overseas. I don't even know if it was out over in England yet when it came out. But no, I did not see it. But it did really good. Pat, do you have the numbers?
It did do really well.
Do you know how well it did?
123.1 million domestically good.
Yes.
Second biggest R-rated movie opening ever good.
Yeah, behind Deadpool. Best fall debut by a fucking mile. The old record was Gravity with 55.7.
More than doubled it.
Yeah, it also doubled the previous horror movie R-rated record, which was Paranormal Activity 3, which is good because that probably didn't deserve the record. And holding 86% on Rotten Tomatoes RT, only a B+ cinema score. Both Conjuring movies had an A-, so fans are almost 50-50 on it. But overall, the receipts are there. I think it's like the 5th highest grossing horror film ever already. For R-rated ones, so that'll shoot up. Obviously, we'll see if it can take down the original Exorcist, which is the #1. But
I don't think it will. But
it depends what the legs are. We have to see, how the multiplier works in the coming weeks. Again, not a lot of competition until Kingsman comes out, so it's got time. Interesting enough, one of the writer credits on this is Cary Fukunaga, who everyone remembers as the director of True Detective Season 1. And he also made Beast of No Nation, the Netflix film. But he didn't actually write the final version of this. He was commissioned to write the script back in 2012, then he left the project.
In 2015.
Right. But they still gave him writer credit, which is interesting, I think.
Yeah, there were, 3 writers who were attached to this that all got credit in some way.
It's kind of, it's not like out of the ordinary. He got like the first draft credit, basically, but, his name's on there.
Right. It's also interesting because, not seeing the movie, I wonder how much they actually strayed from the original movie and moved back towards like pulling other things from the book that had to be left out. Obviously, it's like a 1,000-page book or something like that. So they have a lot to pull from. But this is also a 2-part movie, which I thought was really interesting. I think that the success of this movie pulls on a few things. I think everybody knows it, clowns, especially in like the last 2 years for some reason, have been weirdly popping up and being scary again. And then it had this very much like Lost Boys or something like that vibe.
Sure. Yeah.
And then it really just, everybody knows the movie. They probably saw the old one, and it's one of those things where it looked pretty good in the trailer, and I think it was, you said it's a B+. That's a pretty good grade for a horror movie. I think overall, just quality probably pulled people to there, and people probably just wanted to also go to the movies on a kind of a crappy weather weekend.
Yeah, and as we said before, horror movies kind of have a high floor. They always do pretty well at the
Right.
box office. Annabelle Creation, was one of the biggest movies in August, in
Yeah.
a week August nonetheless, but still. Um, yeah, so I'm curious to see the legs on this at the box office, but the film industry definitely needed this. Hollywood needed this because it was the worst summer box office in like 16 years.
Yeah.
Just disappointing after disappointment. So this is good. But I probably will. I'm not a horror movie person. I've never really liked horror movies at all, so I will not be seeing it. But you should let us know if you do manage to see it, sir.
So yeah, you can tweet at us. You can tweet at us at NowstalgiaPod. Let us know what you think of the movie It. But something that I think is concerning me a little bit. So over the past week, Colin Trevorrow left Star Wars Episode 9, or he was asked to leave Star Wars Episode 9 by Kathleen Kennedy.
The boss.
I mean, yeah, she's the big swinging dick at the Cracker Factory, dude. Like
That's for sure.
she just makes all the power moves. Colin Trevorrow, he directed or co-directed Jurassic World, right?
He directed it. Yeah,
Directed it.
It was his second film. He was kind of the poster child for all the young indie director, good indie film. Let's give him a franchise, like your Josh Tranks,
Right.
your Gareth Edwards. But he was like, literally like he had one other movie, and then he
Right.
did Jurassic World.
But this is the second time this year, within 3 months, that a director was taken off a major Star Wars movie. I mean, Ron Howard replaced Lord and Miller for the Han Solo movie.
We this don't have wasn't filming yet, though. This is only in pre-production,
right? Which is much better that they're doing it now than
right.
When you're pretty much almost in post-production with the Han Solo movie.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts around another Star Wars director being booted out?
Right. So yeah, there's a lot as usual. There's a lot to dig in with this. So this was in pre-production, right? So they had their time to make their call. As we've kind of known with the Force Awakens had a rewrite. They wanted to make sure they got that right. Gareth Edwards was pulled off the end of Rogue One, so Tony Gilroy could come in, and do the big boy reshoots. Lord and Miller was replaced over their ways of conducting the shoot, among other things, replaced with Ron Howard, a seasoned Academy Award-winning director. Rian Johnson, this is like his, very experienced guy, Breaking Bad. He's got like 4 other movies. Traditionalist, no problems on set at all for The Last Jedi, which comes out this year, which is good to hear. So given that, and Josh Trank was pulled off of an untitled spinoff very early on. So there's been a lot of activity, right? So apparently this came up, over rewrites with the script. I mean, obviously they know what's going to happen. Episode 9 is just a matter of the script. They've had this outline. They know how they want to end the trilogy. And I think that's kind of the source of it is Kathleen Kennedy, who's, she has the final say over at Lucasfilm. She wants her and everyone that works for her, they want this movie to come out a certain way. This is the trilogy capper. This is the one sending off the legacy characters. Luke Skywalker, assumingly, will be in Episode 9. Carrie Fisher was supposed to have a really big role in Episode 9 before her untimely passing. So, that other note, making sure you handle Carrie Fisher's death is important. But also, they're not going to take any risks with the legacy characters. And I think that's probably the source of the issue is they want this to, you can say they want it to be safe, but at the same time, this is the most powerful brand in the history of, humanity. This is the most powerful IP, most popular IP, the highest grossing IP, whatever you want to say, it is the most powerful franchise there is. When you're using the most popular characters for your legacy characters, you're so connected to the original movies that are so beloved, you can't fuck it up, And everyone's like, oh, well, they don't want to take risks. They just want to tell directors what to do. Yeah, no fucking kidding. These are movies that make like $1.5 billion every time, and they're so popular. I understand. Now, if we get farther along with Star Wars, and let's be real, the shit ain't gonna go away
No.
after the all the announced movies. If we get farther away from the original trilogy, farther away from Luke and Han, and if there's still a really heavy hand about how stuff is done, yeah, I can understand cause for concern. But at the same time, a guy like Colin Trevorrow, who apparently is kind of a cocky guy, um, if you're going to be a cocky guy and like putting your dick on the table in front of Kathleen Kennedy, telling her how you want to end the movie after your art house passion project, The Book of Henry, was probably the most critically panned movie of the year, that also made like $2 million. It doesn't seem like a good match anymore, does it? And he almost sounded like a bad fit anyway, because he did for Jurassic Park with Jurassic World what JJ did for Star Wars. He rejuvenated the franchise, but we have nothing to go off of to expect he'd be able to end the franchise, even if he was getting a lot of direction. So I'm totally fine with it. I hope they keep Rian Johnson,
Right.
or maybe like a similar guy like a Ron Howard, like maybe a Robert Zemeckis, someone in the Spielberg school. But yeah, those are my thoughts. How do you feel?
Well, I feel a little bit concerned. I don't know if I feel concerned necessarily about the franchise, but just that this is becoming a pattern, I think, is something that isn't necessarily good. Like, this is like a really like off topic example, but so like the Boston Bruins, right? They're about to like lose their next young stud but they just won't pay him, and it's like, I was talking to my dad about it, and what he says is, if good riddance if they don't want to sign a reasonable contract, whatever. I was like, no, because eventually no young people are going to want to play for the Bruins because they just won't pay them. Like, you need to like eventually like make a commitment to something and stick with it, because what director is going to want to jump on? Now, granted, the Boston Bruins are not Star Wars, like you said, the greatest IP of all time, and something that can make your career if you do it right.
Mm-hmm.
I do think the really positive thing is that they seem to have found directors that they feel like they can really work with to put the franchise in the direction they want it to go. So I don't see this being a problem that will continue to happen. I think what they'll end up doing is using those like side movies, like
The
Rogue
spin-offs,
One,
the anthologies,
Han Solo, as like the art movies in a way. Let people be creative, tell the stories in a certain way. Obviously, Lord and Miller was a little different because they were fucking with a character who's like one of the most beloved characters of all time. But I think as they get a little further away, they can let people like, I don't know, like Django, not Django,
Django Fett.
Django Fett, yeah, Bubba Fett. Like that movie can be a little bit darker or a little bit grittier, artsy,
Yeah, exactly.
So I think now that they have Rian Johnson, I don't see why they wouldn't just be like, dude, like everybody loves you for episode 8, take the keys to 9, and like even further after that. Like if he wants to keep making movies, he's a great director.
Yeah, exactly. And he's let on that he would love to do it again. He's had no complaints at all. And he already is privy to how the story goes. So he seems like a perfect fit to just, wrap up the trilogy at the very least. But yeah, I think what you said is right. Because, like, part of the thing with Lord and Miller, and probably with Trevorrow too, because he's so inexperienced, is that Lucasfilm has such high standards, not just for like the details of the story, like the treatment. It's just they want these shoots to be done a certain way because there's so much on the line. Right. So when they heard that Lord and Miller was doing a million shots of the same shot and doing too much improv, they should have fucking known from the start that's how they made movies. Mm-hmm. But it was clearly just not a good match, especially like for using the character of Han Solo. Just wait, it's too much riding on it. Right. So, and a lot of all the doom and gloom people be like, oh, Kathleen Kennedy, it's her way to the hire. It's like, yes, no director is bigger than the franchise, especially this franchise. Marvel's the same way, and so is DC. A lot of people like to say that DC is better and that they give people more chances. We haven't seen enough to truly know that yet. But again, there's a lot riding on these, and Warner Brothers cares about their money just as much as fucking Disney does. So, again, down the line, if there's still a really heavy hand about stuff when it's farther removed from the main story, I understand. But in Rogue One, even with the reshoots, everybody fucking dies in Rogue One. I thought that was very different, and that's why I loved it so much. So, again, let's see how Episode 8 does. There's nothing negative about it at all. So I think, moving forward, we know so much information so far in advance about movies these days that we have our takes, then when we get new information, we make new takes, and not enough things happen. We have to let things happen. So in the meantime, I'm not worried.
No, me neither. Something I'm not worried about, but intrigued about James Bond. So for the past 2 years, MGM has been trying to sell the rights to James Bond as a franchise, and Fox, Sony, Universal, Warner Brothers have all been trying to acquire the rights, but haven't made an offer that MGM has bid on yet. And within the last 2-3 weeks, Apple and Amazon have emerged as possible suitors for the James Bond rights, which
Yeah.
I mean that would be a huge shakeup in the movie industry for a service like Apple or Amazon. I guess not a service, a brand like them, to
Yeah.
get such a prestigious franchise. Daniel Craig is signed on for one more movie. It's dropping in 2019. Dave, I mean, do you think Apple and Amazon can actually get James Bond?
Short answer, I do not. I think the answer is no, but they're very smart to try. So, like you said, this deal is for distribution. Sony has had the distribution ever since Casino Royale, so the whole Daniel Craig era. That deal expired in 2015, so after Spectre.
Mm-hmm.
It was an up for grabs. Warner has been making a big push. Sony is still very interested. Apparently, information came out in the Sony hack that Sony was on the hook for 50% of the production budget for James Bond, of which Spectre was the most expensive Bond film ever. They only made 25% of the profit. So it's basically like $1 billion movie. After everything else, we probably take home like 40 million. So the new Sony head of Sony Pictures, not Amy Pascal, the new dude is known for pinching pennies. So perhaps that's why they haven't locked this deal down yet, because they're a little apprehensive. At the same time, Apple and Amazon are smart to go for this because franchises don't go on the open market like this, you know? Like
Right.
George Lucas sold Star Wars once.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever bought it was never going to get rid of that shit again.
No.
And it's kind of crazy that he made $4 billion in 2012, was it? 2012.
Yeah.
And a few years later, like King, the maker of Candy Crush, goes for 15, and WhatsApp goes for 16.
Yeah.
And it's clear that Disney made a fucking steal on that. But in the meantime, James Bond is up for grabs. And someone like Apple or Amazon is making, Oscar contenders. Apple's just trying to get in the game. They've announced $1 billion in original content. Having, not original content, but a franchise would be a nice way to get themselves on the map. Plus, they'd probably get the money back on the free exposure because you just get to have James Bond use his Apple Watch and use an iPhone and get that free product placement, right? But I don't think MGM will take enough risk, because what can Apple and Amazon do for James Bond that Warner and Sony can't do better? So that's why I think ultimately they'll just go with one of the big studios. Perhaps Craig convinces them to stick with Sony for maybe a one-off. I don't know, but it's very interesting. And if Amazon or Apple did manage to snag it, that would be really fascinating.
Yeah, I think if one of these were going to, the one that I would want to is Amazon. For as much as Amazon doesn't really have like the best streaming service. They don't have the catalog that Netflix has, or like
Correct.
the even Hulu. They don't have like TV shows that came out 24 hours before, so they don't have anything that's necessarily unique about them. But Amazon being a service that literally, I would say almost everybody that uses the internet uses to buy and sell things, they could distribute, like toys, things like that in such a more marketable way. I think they're a much more attractive partner for MGM to sell it, just because they could build the Bond brand. Also, having a streaming service that is in place, even if it's not as prestigious as other ones, they could do like anthology shows, things like that, like a Money Penny show or a Q show, something like that.
And that is interesting, because we're in the era of connected universes and IP. The Mummy, the bad Mummy movie this year is part of the dark universe.
Yeah,
with,
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, can't wait.
And Frankenstein, yeah, right. But the people behind James Bond have always been resistant to that. There hasn't been a James Bond origins TV
It's gonna
show
happen
yet,
though.
So, but if it was to happen, get that Money Penny show with Shonda Rhimes. I don't know, but
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. No,
Odd Job and Jaws. There's a lot of potential. But yeah, franchises are not available like this, so everyone should be jumping at it, and they are.
Yeah, I'm surprised Netflix hasn't jumped at this.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's not in their business model at this time. They like making all their own stuff they totally own. Remember, this is just distribution. Netflix is paying less and less for movie rights because they can just create stuff that they totally own.
Right.
So I can understand why Netflix wouldn't bother.
Well, we do have to wrap up there. We've run a little long today. We had a lot to catch up on though after your trip to London, and we did a fall TV review. Just want to remind everybody, BoJack Horseman premiered this past weekend.
The Deuce is back or on now. Sorry,
The Deuce. Yeah, I gotta catch up on that. Maybe we'll talk about
just
that
the first episode. Just the first episode is out. Vice Principal's first episode of the final season will be this coming Sunday.
Yes. So we have a lot of TV to talk about.
And then a lot of music coming up. Which one are you most excited about, Pat?
Foo Fighters.
This Friday. 9th album, Concrete and Gold.
And they're going harder. Dave Grohl, Rock God.
Nice. Yeah.
That'll be awesome.
They're doing the anti-Linkin Park route, right?
Dave, who are you most excited for?
They're going harder. That's funny. So Prophets of Rage also dropping. Gucci Mane's 11th album, and little known hip hop act, The Cool Kids, first album since 2011.
Little known, dude. Cool Kids are fucking great.
Oh, you know The Cool Kids? Golden Pager, fucking bang it.
Great, dude. What was 1, 2? God, I have that song on my iTunes. I haven't listened to them in fucking years, dude.
That's the thing. They kind of like broke up and did their own thing. Shuckle English did a lot of production, but now they're back. And Special Edition Grandmaster Deluxe is the name of their second album, which comes out Friday. So I'm really happy for the comeback for them. Just just happy to see I'm back in the game. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, four albums coming out. Gucci Mane, an album come out every season, I'd say, for Gucci. So good for him.
Yeah. Is this their third album, The Cool Kids?
Second. They have an EP. And then their one album, which came out in 2011. EP was like 08, so it's been a minute.
Yeah. I was gonna say I know their EP. So.
Yeah, Chuck English and Sir Michael Rock's had some mixtapes since then, much more recently. But yeah, so The Deuce, Vice Principals, those 4 albums. We'll be talking about some of that stuff next week, as well as the inedible news that happens because 2017 shit happens.
Culture never stops.
I'm going to the Meadows this weekend. Going to see Migos. And a little guy named Jay-Z. Fun.
Dude, definitely check out Erykah Badu.
There's a conflict with Erykah Badu.
What's the conflict?
By. Fill time. I'm going to look it up.
Well, if you want to get in touch with us, tweet at the show at NowstalgiaPod. Find Dave at Martin Swagger. Find me at Sheeny World Peace. Give us ratings, review on iTunes, subscribe on YouTube.
Please subscribe on YouTube. Check out our channel trailer.
Yes, it's a dope channel trailer. We use the All Along the Watchtower intro from The Young Pope. I'm excited to talk BoJack with you, Dave. I know you don't watch, but
I want to watch. I just need to make time. I've been finishing up Twin Peaks, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I got to make time to watch that. That's going to be interesting because we only have one TV here at the new apartment. So clear out the paint.
All right. So Erykah Badu is on Saturday at 4:00. Who is the conflict? The conflict is LL Cool J and DJ Z Drip. I'm going to see
LL Cool J. They put them at the same time? Dude, yeah, you got to go see LL Cool J. Damn, that fucking sucks. They put them on at the same time.
So we talked about the lineup a little while ago, but some good young acts, right? Joey Badass, 21, Migos. Mm-hmm. You got RTJ, Run the Jewels. Then you got all these old heads. You got De La Soul and fucking Big Boy and LL Cool J and Nas and Jay-Z and what is it?
You have to see De La, dude.
Ghostface Killer or Raekwon, one of the Wu-Tang dudes.
Ghostface, I think.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm definitely seeing De La. So and then a Future as well. So it's a great mix of young and new hip hop. Flatbush Zombies, De La Soul. Yeah, there. Tory Lanez, not seeing him.
Dude, definitely take a video of Gorillaz for me so I can be jealous as fuck.
I'm disappointed that MIA is the same time as Gorillaz because I was kind of interested to see her, but I feel like I need to see Gorillaz for the whole stage set.
Yeah, you could probably run and catch some MIA, but yeah, that's another shitty conflict.
Yeah, well. Nothing was as bad as Governor's Ball. YG versus Ray Shremmerd. Everyone who's going for Ray Shremmerd is also going for YG and vice versa. Why on earth would you split the crowd like that?
Well,
That was
that's the point. They want to
I
split
know
the
that's
crowd.
why I did it, but that was fucking cruel. Like,
Right. All right. Well, we got to wrap up. But until next week, we love you. Peace out.